It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Wally.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Simply Bitcoin. We got an awesome show for you guys and very interesting stuff that's happening over the weekend. First and foremost, as you can tell from the title, the Bitcoin signal is spreading to other circles outside of Bitcoin Twitter, and you just love to see it. I was having a good conversation with our guest today about how it's so important to break out of just the Bitcoin echo chamber. And we saw on Joe Rogan, Dave Smith, a stand-up comedian, podcaster, libertarian commentator, and a reoccurring guest on Joe Rogan. And he goes on and says what Bitcoiners have been saying since forever. Modern banking is a house of cards. He breaks down the Federal Reserve scam, in my opinion, humble opinion. And actually, you know, we'll update on what he's saying and bring you up to speed on exactly how nefarious the modern banking is in the current moment. But the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because this is a reoccurring theme that we have here on Simply Bitcoin, exposing a whole new audience to the problem. And yet still people just can't seem to find the solution, which of course is Simply Bitcoin. And it's just interesting that you can get so close and yet not have a solution. You can know what the problem is, and yet so few people are talking about the solution, which is, of course, having more people download Bitcoin wallets, have more people saving in Bitcoin, and then continue to plant the seeds of freedom in like-minded individuals. And then on that note, guys, we would have covered this on Friday if we didn't take a break off. Hope you guys had a great holiday weekend, at least in America. And on Friday, we saw that Wallet of Satoshi announced they are pulling out of the US due to regulatory pressures. But also, we saw that Nodeless in Canada had to shut down as well. So wallets and nodes being attacked because of regulation. And if you are not aware that we are definitely in the then they fight you stage, well, I guess now's the time when you realize that we are over the target, and the powers that be do not want you to custody your Bitcoin. They don't want you to run nodes, because the more people run nodes, the more people save in Bitcoin, the more their scam is exposed in real time. And you just love to see it, guys. It just goes to show we are winning here as Bitcoiners. We are above the target. We have the signal. And now it's upon us as individuals to continue to spread that signal. Make sure more people wake up. Make sure we are spreading this outside of just people that think like us on Twitter, guys. You know, it's awesome being on Bitcoin Twitter. It's awesome being a part of the quote unquote community over there. But the goal is to get more people out of the Great Leviathan, out of the fiat matrix, so that they can live a better life, live a good life. And as we like to say, you know, it's Bitcoin or slavery. And if you're not on Bitcoin, you're not on the side of freedom, well, you might find yourself in a position you do not want to be in. Anyways, guys, welcome to Simply Bitcoin. We are your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. We cover breaking news, culture, and nomadic warfare. We bring on Bitcoiners from all around the world, from the biggest names to the everyday Bitcoiner. We got them all, and we will be your guide through the separation of money and state. And we are definitely in the separation of money and state. Anyways, I want to bring in our guest today, Brett Morrison, who just released an awesome app out here. I know it might be a little contentious in our chat because they are actively against voting, but maybe this would make them want to vote. Anyways, Brett, what am I talking about? What did you just drop this week?
Yeah, hi there. Thanks. I just dropped a working demo of TrueVote. So TrueVote is an open source voting system where we can vote on our phones. So we need to do that. Democracy is broken, and a lot of our audience knows that, and they don't want to vote. But until we replace it, we may as well have elections that are accurate and that count. So you know, solving democracy is a bigger problem that TrueVote's not trying to do. We are trying to solve election integrity. So the way we've built that is open source, and we're using open timestamps, and we're actually using Nostr for authentication now too. So you'll be able to sign in, and all this is in the working demo that was published last week. A user can sign in, generate a Nostr key if they don't have one, and then get an election code from their registrar. So whether it's I'm in, you know, Los Angeles or California, and you get a voting code, you enter it in, and you can just vote on your phone. waiting online, dealing with a mail-in ballot, not knowing where your ballot has gone. Those problems should not exist, but they do today. And nobody is addressing that. I mean, how long before we have mobile voting? TrueVote wants to do it now, so there's no reason to wait at this point. So yeah, we're actively building it. We'll have a launch product early in 2024, and you'll be able to create an election and have people start voting in it. And I'll start small. We'll do local associations, private elections, and then local, then county, city, state, and eventually national. So that's the plan. And also international. So TrueVote is being designed multilingual right out of the gate. It's not just about the United States. There's democracies all over the world that need a voting system, and there's corruption throughout, and that really isn't acceptable. It's ridiculous that we don't have this already. So someone just needed to build it. So that's why, I wrote the white paper 2 years ago and have been working on it, and happy to publish that demo last week and show, hey, this is how it's going to work. And you just sign in and start voting, submit your ballot. You can see your ballot on a ballot explorer. You can see a hash that was validated against the Bitcoin blockchain using open timestamps. So it solves two fundamental problems. Today, when you vote, you don't know what happened to your ballot. You don't know if it was counted. You think it was counted, but you really, really don't know. With TrueVote, you'll be able to confirm that your ballot was counted. And also convenience. A lot of people don't want to vote because they don't want to deal with a mail-in ballot. They don't want to wait online. So this solves both those problems. Super excited about it.
Well, absolutely love it. I do have the live demo that you posted over here, so we can play that as well, so people can get a view of what's going on.
A little bit over a minute long, if you want.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I got it. Yeah. And I do have your white paper and everything, so we'll get all into that in the culture. But before I move on, guys, I'm not alone. We have brought back Sophie. Sophie, how are you doing today? Good to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I hope you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving weekend. We've all rested up and we're ready to catch up on some news. So let's get it.
Yeah, not enough rest, but almost enough rest. All right, guys, let's get into the show.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stampseed.
All right, guys. You guys, sorry, I'm distracted. You guys are killing me in the chat. You guys are killing me. All right. You already know. I'm over here on Clark Moody's dashboard, giving you guys the Bitcoin numbers. Of course, my favorite number, first and foremost, is the block height. TikTok, next block. It's almost like Bitcoin works. We are currently at a block height of 818,728. The current Bitcoin price is $37,100, which means the Moscow time, aka how much Bitcoin you can buy for a single dollar, aka the sats per dollar, is at 2,695. The total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued is at 93.11%. The market cap in fiat terms is $725.5 billion. The realized monetary inflation, taking fiat currencies to school, is at 1.75%. And the Bitcoin versus gold market cap at 5.39%. You guys can see it's slowly inching up, slowly but surely. It is getting closer and closer. And the total Lightning public capacity is 5,359.32 BTC. The hash rate the last 90 days. Guys, have you been watching the hash rate? It's been going absolutely parabolic. Things are getting crazy over there. The last 90 days is at 438.6 exahashes. The pending fees in the mempool, at least according to the one that Clark Moody is reading right now, is at 19.08 BTC. I think the Ordinals guys are having a lot of fun over there. You know, Taproot Wizards making Bitcoin fun again, clogging up the mempools for all of us. Anyways, it's a totally other discussion. The block's still happening. probably the most important number besides the block height right now is 21,271 blocks until the halving. And as of now, it's estimated April 19th, 2024. All right, guys. So I want to get into this. As we always tell you guys on the show, what we really want to do here on Simply Bitcoin is do our best to break out of the Bitcoin echo chamber, to, for lack of better terms, maybe steal views away from the shitcoin channels, because once they get the true Bitcoin signal, it's very, very hard to go back into the shitcoin casinos, go back into the fiat dollar. Once you understand the scam of the fiat dollar, of the financial system. And it's just so interesting that so many people know what the problem is. They can talk so eloquently about the problem, but very few people are even talking about the solutions. And we have another example of this. Shouts out to comic Dave Smith. He is absolutely hilarious. Of course, he is a podcaster. He's a libertarian. He goes on Joe Rogan constantly. And here he is, talking about the very problem that we always talk about as Bitcoiners, that we've been talking about forever, the scam that is the central banks, that is modern banking in general. And he hits the nail on the head. And as our boy Mike Hobart put, Dave Smith and Joe Rogan are drifting closer and closer to an orange pill. They are this close, guys. They are this close to being Bitcoiners. I know Joe Rogan holds some. I'm pretty sure Dave Smith has to have held some Bitcoin. Rustin was telling me that Guy Swan's been on his podcast a few times. So it's just super interesting that they can understand the problem, and yet they just never connect the dots maybe and connect it to Bitcoin. And also, giving them the benefit of the doubt. I say it all the time on the show. Maybe it is not their jobs to necessarily be Bitcoin only and to always talk about Bitcoin. That's what we do. But it would be nice if they would hint at least at the solution. They know what the problem is. And I say it all the time, guys. We know what the problem is. It is fractional reserve banking. It is the fact that they can debase their currency. It is inflation. We say this all the time on the show. And so many people understand the problems, but very few people know what the solution is. Anyways, let's listen to this video, guys, and we'll chat about it.
The whole system of fractional reserve banking is really kind of this fascinating thing, because everybody still kind of has in their mind that if you kind of have in your mind that the money in your bank account is your money and that you're holding it, that they're holding it for you.
Right.
But that's not right. That's not what's going on. And if you ever actually read the contract that you sign when you open a checking account, that's not what it is. It's more like you're loaning money to the bank and they owe that money to you. But they don't have to give it to you. You could, legally speaking, you could walk in tomorrow to a bank. I mean, no one actually walks up to a teller anymore.
It's a Wonderful Life isn't a Christmas movie. It's a banking movie.
Oh, yeah. So that is the scene. I was right about that. Okay. Yeah. But so you could walk into the bank tomorrow and your checking, account balance is whatever, say it's $5,000, and you could go, I'd like to take out $2,000, and they can say, no, you can't have it. Now, They owe it to you, technically, but they don't have to give it to you. They're not just holding it for you to give to you on demand. Now, the system hasn't collapsed, so they will give that to you today if you walk into a bank. But
if too many people come in and they want too much money.
Well, they don't have it.
Yeah.
Is the point. So when you open a bank account, and I don't know exactly what the reserve rates are now, because I know they did change this during COVID, but for a while it was 10%. Was what the Federal Reserve set as the reserves that you had to put away. So when you come into your bank and you give them $100 to open a checking account, just to make it an easy number, they hold $10 and they loan out $90. And now, so they'll loan that money out, and so essentially they owe you $100. But the effect of this, right, is that now there's this guy. So let's say you open the account with $100. Now there's another guy who takes out a loan for $90, and you're now in the economy, and kind of you think you have $100, and he thinks he has $90, but really there's not $190. There's only $100. That you get what I'm saying? But now here's where it gets even crazier than that. This guy doesn't just hold his $90, he goes and puts it in the bank. And so the bank holds 10% of that money and then loans out 90% of that to somebody else, who then puts that money in the bank. And then they take 10%. So when you actually look at the effect of it, there's like not nearly as much money in the bank as we all think we have in the world. So essentially, if everybody came into the bank, or even just too many people came into the bank and said, we'd like to withdraw our money, there's nowhere near enough money for them to give you. So inherently, the whole thing is kind of a house of cards.
It's like when you're going to a stadium and you try to use your cell phone, you realize there's no signal, even though you have 5 bars.
Right.
Because everyone's using their phone. So there's no signal for you. You
Right.
can't get online. You can't make a phone call.
Right, like this thing only works if we're not all trying to do it at the same time.
Exactly.
But if we do, then we're in a lot of trouble.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You can see in real time that they're like, wait, is this really how the modern banking system works? And to clarify, as far as I know, Dave Smith is correct that during 2020, they dropped the requirements to 0. And I haven't seen any fix on that. So I am pretty sure there is no reserve requirements from banks. They can literally lend out 100% of their quote unquote reserves there. And to make it even crazier, it doesn't just stop with the next guy. This literally just keeps going down until infinity, until there is $1 in the bank, or rather like 10 cents left in the bank. And it just goes to show you that modern banking is the real Ponzi here. And I know they constantly roll out these excuses and these gaslights to say that Bitcoin's the Ponzi and we got to protect the retail customer. But in reality, that's why Bitcoin was created in the first place, to protect us from the banking mechanisms that is the status quo. And it really goes to show that what we say here on Simply Bitcoin constantly is, I know you guys, a lot of us in the chat are usually like, who cares about what Joe Rogan is saying? Who cares about what Dave Smith is saying? Well, to us, we may not care. We may not even know who Dave Smith is, but people are listening to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is the biggest the biggest content creator in the world, besides like maybe Mr. Beast or something like that. And so people listen to his podcast. People are waking up to the scam that is modern finance. And here we go. Constantly, the Bitcoin signal is spreading outside of the Bitcoin echo chamber. And it's only, a matter of time until they start to, at the very least, talk about Bitcoin as Bitcoin fixing this, that Bitcoin is the solution to this. And maybe it's not Dave Smith's job. Maybe it's not Joe Rogan's job to talk about Bitcoin as the solution. But man, they really hit on so many talking points that us Bitcoiners talking about. Banks have none of your money in reserves. As soon as you give a bank your money, it is no longer your money. You're lending them your money so that they can go speculate on it, as we saw in 2008. There is no money left in the banks. If we all went in at the same time, we'd have a bank run and there'd be no money left, exposing the scam that is modern banking. And it's just beautiful to see that the Bitcoin signal is finally getting outside of just a little small niche circle that we always talk about on the internet. And it's only a matter of time until they figure out that, oh my goodness, is there a solution to this? Maybe we should ask ourselves, what is money? Maybe we should ask ourselves how the banking system works. Maybe there is a solution and we don't just have to take this sitting down. And of course, we always tell you guys, it is Simply Bitcoin. It is our job to incentivize our friends and families to download Bitcoin wallets, to save in Bitcoin, to understand what is going on. Because if not, there's going to be a lot of pain going on once the music stops and once people realize that it's just a trust game right now. It's only going on because people still seem to believe there's legitimacy in the system, when in reality, it's what's the Big Short one? It's all fugazi, it's all wugazi, it's all fake. And this is where we are. And so few people understand this that I just find it so important to continue to have these conversations outside of just a small niche corner of the internet. Once more and more people wake up to what they're talking about on Joe Rogan, I think a revolution will happen overnight. Anyways, Brett, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, what he didn't mention in that clip was the money printing, which I wish he would have gotten into a little bit, because people are feeling inflation today. And nobody is pointing to the money printing except us Bitcoiners. The mainstream media or any media, they don't really talk about money printing. They do a little in our echo chamber, they do, but money printing is the cause of inflation, and people are feeling that. Fractional reserve banking, sure, whether it's 90% or 99% or 100% being able to be lent out, people won't feel that until there's an actual bank run. So, even if there is a bank run and people try and withdraw, that will obviously cause chaos as it has in other places outside the US. The inflation, though, is here. And I think, I don't know how the rest of the show went with Rogan, but I don't know if he didn't answer the question of, okay, well, what happens when there is a bank run? And the answer is the government will bail out the bank and print more money, because that's the only way they can bail out a bank is to manufacture money, and that decreases purchasing power. And these concepts are really not that complicated for everybody to understand. It's not like you have to have a finance degree or understand the cause of all of it. You don't need to. Money printing causes your purchasing power to go down because the supply is increased. And people do see that when they go to the grocery store and they feel it. So the lesson here, though, is get your money out of the dollar and invest in other assets. And obviously, we all on this audience believe in Bitcoin, and really it's I don't know what Saylor says, something about like all assets or go to infinity. There's all sorts of good quotes that have come out of Saylor regarding everything will be priced in Bitcoin at some point, and all including real estate, and everything will be subsumed into Bitcoin. We did have a little bit of a bank run this year, with some of the banks closing, and but they were bailed out, and no one really, I don't know how many people really felt that bank run. Silicon Valley Bank and some of the others, I don't know if it really touched, everyday people. It was just kind of in the news and then kind of out of it. But the inflation, that's where you will get people's attention. And unfortunately, when it gets even worse, they're going to blame everything except the money printing. And to me, that's super frustrating, because it's really lying. You're not really telling people why. And money printing happened under the Trump administration, under the Biden administration, and it will continue to go on under the next administration, because it's their only way out. It's either that or collapse. And I don't think any of us want to collapse. So, the money printing will continue. And inflation will rise.
The money printing will continue until morale improves, guys. But Brett, you hit on something that we always talk about here, and you hit on the bank runs that happened this year. And I also believe I don't even think even people flinched on it. They're just like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, what is the other news story that we got bombarded with around that same time? And it's just that constant game of just bombarding the individual with so much noise that they don't know what signal is. And it's really absolutely incredible that we as Bitcoiners may be the only ones that are constantly on message and showing people like, look, your life's getting more expensive. As much as they try to gaslight you about turkey dinner, Thanksgiving dinner being cheaper than it was last year, we all understand that our gas is going up, our groceries going up, rent is getting higher, like everything is getting more expensive. And people can only get gaslit for so long until they really feel the pain of that sticker shock. And there was another point you kind of touched on. And my buddy CJ Constantinos, we did a great rip. And there's something that he said that I think is a very powerful message. And you touched on it as well. It's like very few people understand that maybe if they're diversifying in, real estate and stocks and treasuries, like this is all still in one system, and only Bitcoin is true systemic diversification. You need to get something outside of the system, maybe a parallel monetary system that they cannot inflate, that they cannot debase. And that's the only way that you're actually going to protect yourself in this position right now, because we all know they have to keep printing money. They have to keep printing money to keep the game going. And it's like musical chairs. Once the music stops, it might get very bad for a lot of people. Hence why we would love for this to be a slower progression and more people downloading Bitcoin wallets, more people saving in Bitcoin, so that people can protect themselves, because the powers that be don't have your best interest in mind. Their best interest is to keep the game going and print more money.
Yeah, and I'll add that the reason why money printing is actually really smart for politicians to do politically, because they care about getting reelected first and foremost. So they have no incentive to not print money. It's great for them. I mean, if printing money helps people's stocks go up and their portfolios rise, and their stimulus checks. That is good politically for them. So they have no incentives to not do it. That's the problem. And I think term limits would really help that a lot. I don't, we have a term limit with the presidency. I don't know why we don't have it for the Senate and the House of Representatives. I don't get why there's politicians there for 20, 30, 40 years. It seems absurd to me. 8 years max for any political office, I think, would really help, because they're always running for reelection. So they're pandering all the time, and not really. The United States wasn't about that. And I would say most democracies, they're about serving the people and your constituents. It's not about being a career politician and I know better than anybody else and nobody else can run because I'm an incumbent. That is not the way. That's not the spirit of democracy. And unfortunately, the U.S. Constitution does not have term limits for Senate and House of Representatives. But I think that's something that eventually I'd love to see an amendment. But, the way that works is who's going to vote on that amendment? The people in office at the time. So a lot of these things are really hard to change. I don't know if we'll see in our lifetime, who knows, but I think that's a real part of the problem is they're always trying to get reelected. So printing money, it's temporary. It helps temporarily, but down the line, it just causes inflation. There's a ripple effect.
Yeah, it's like trying to cure your hangover by drinking more. It might help for a little bit, but it's going to eventually catch up on you. And actually, you brought up something about term limits. Over the weekend, I was watching a Larry Fink interview. I know, guys, throw tomatoes. I'm trying to understand what he's thinking, right? And there was a funny question there. The girl that was interviewing him was like, "So what? Larry Fink for president?" And even Larry Fink was joking. He's like, "I'm too young to be. I'm too young to be president. I'm too young to be in the House because, as we all know, we are being run right now by the geriatric class, and it's absolutely incredible that this is where we are. Just so out of touch with what's going on, and these career politicians. It's a very insidious game. Anyway, Sophie, what's your thoughts on everything?
Well, one of the most interesting things that this money printer has brought about, not interesting, but actually tragic to the game of politics, is that it's made the people have to work for the politicians. Listen, this Black Friday, they had to lie about having a sale. That's when you know that things are really bad. And so the fact that this is a message that is finally breaking the echo chamber, be it through Joe Rogan, be it through mainstream media when we see it being covered on CNBC sometimes, be it through any means necessary. This is, as Corey Clipson said, the race to avoid the war. We need Bitcoin adoption because we need to avoid the catastrophe that is inevitably coming. And unfortunately, I always say this when we're live streaming on TikTok, but I do think that sometimes it is going to take a catastrophe to make people wake up and realize that what's going on here is very bad and it's not sustainable. What happens if there is an actual bank run? What happens if people actually do decide to all of a sudden opt out of fiat because they're realizing that politicians and the elites have been lying to them because the mainstream has picked up on this and it is impossible to bury this anymore? We will all be doomed. And the people that have Bitcoin are going to be telling you, we told you so. And this is what we try to avoid. This is what we try to tell people on the show every single day. Buy Bitcoin, get it into self-custody and live free another day. Because if you don't, you will get caught up in everything that these people are trying to destroy.
Wow, Sophie, totally agree. But also, You're getting good at this. You're sounding like Nat Brunell on CNN or something like that. We're definitely gonna have to bring you on the show a lot more because I think I'm out of a job now. All right, anyways,
I'll be on tomorrow. Hey, Opti called me an influencer today, and it was kind of crazy.
I said you're famous. I said you're famous now.
You might as well have called me an influencer.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, guys. Also, we want to shout out our boys over at the Bitcoin Magazine, throwing the Bitcoin Conference. We will be taking over Nashville July 25th, 27th of 2024. Get yourself your tickets today. These are the cheapest they're going to be. We tell you this every single time. Get them now. We know you're going to FOMO into the conference and you're going to yell at us that the prices are too expensive. Well, if you use Simply, you can get a discount on your tickets. We want to see you in Nashville. I can't wait to get to Nashville and take over. Anyways, guys, on that note, let's get into the news because it was a pretty crazy weekend, to be completely honest.
the daily news.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more.
All right, guys. So before I get into the Wallet of Satoshi news and the known list story that I mentioned, I want to give you guys some context. We've been covering this for weeks, rather months at this point. You know, Elizabeth Warren has proposed a bill, and she's constantly on television talking about, oh, how we must protect the retail from unhosted wallets. And here I have her proposal. As you can see, I am on warren.senate.gov. And here is her Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2023. And you can see that we've seen a lot of ripples since this got proposed. We saw the FinCEN proposal as well. I have that for you right after this, but I'm just going to read the beginning of this and then, of course, emphasize a few things on this anti-money laundering act. And then we're going to get into the Wallet of Satoshi news because I think it is cascading very quickly. And it's something we've been saying here for a while, that we are in the then they fight you stage. And you taking Bitcoin into custody is a threat to their power. Hence, they will do whatever they can to stop you from doing it, to stop the average citizen from protecting themselves, to find the exit, or the lifeboat, as Christine Lagarde said. They don't want you to take Bitcoin into custody. Hence, we are going to take Bitcoin into custody. This is the way. So, first sentence here: the Treasury Department, Department of Justice, and Federal Bureau of Investigation and other national security and law enforcement experts have warned that digital assets are increasingly being used for money laundering, ransomware attacks, theft, fraud schemes, trafficking, terrorist financing, and other crimes. We covered this. We've been breaking this down, that they constantly use these low-hanging fruit examples of we're all money launderers, we're all financial criminals, we all support terrorists, and that's all Bitcoin is good for, even though we constantly bring the receipts here, that the real criminals use cash. But let's not talk about that. Let's skirt that under the bus. We all know about the Bitcoin energy FUD and how we're boiling the oceans. And so they're just constantly adding these FUD lines and doing whatever they can to scare away the average person from Bitcoin. But I specifically want to touch on a few points here. You know, specifically, the Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act would extend Bank Secrecy Act responsibilities, including KYC requirements, to digital asset wallet providers, miners, validators, and other network participants that may act to validate, secure, or facilitate digital asset transactions. It would address a major gap with respect to quote-unquote unhosted digital wallets, which allow individuals to bypass AML and sanctions checks by directing FinCEN to finalize and implement its December 2020 proposal rule, which will require banks and money service businesses to verify customer and counterparty identities, keep records, and file reports on certain transactions involving unhosted wallets or wallets hosted in non-BSA compliant jurisdictions. And then we saw following last month about FinCEN proposing new regulations to enhance transparency in convertible virtual currency mixing and combat terrorist financing. So again, they don't want you to take Bitcoin into custody. They are gaslighting and framing Bitcoin mixing as criminal. They are imposing new proposals onto fiat banks that are interacting with Bitcoin. And we saw what happened a couple weeks ago with the Swan proposal. We've seen that FinCEN is actively fighting against Bitcoin privacy. We've seen that Elizabeth Warren constantly rolls out these excuses that, oh, we need to protect retail from unhosted wallets, or rather, even that these proposals in themselves don't even fundamentally understand how Bitcoin works, saying that, oh, if a wallet uses a new address, that we need to make them become or register as money transmitter licenses, when this is literally how the software works pretty much by default for most wallets. And what we saw happen over the weekend, Wallet of Satoshi apparently is pulling out of the US because of these regulations. So here's Wallet of Satoshi's tweet. And it goes, to our valued Wallet of Satoshi community in the United States of America, we've dedicated ourselves to providing the best Bitcoin experience with Wallet of Satoshi, being at the forefront of Lightning usability and adoption. However, we've made the difficult decision to remove our app from the US Apple and Google app stores and will not serve US customers going forward. This decision doesn't come lightly. Our commitment to providing a secure, user-friendly, and compliant platform globally is unwavering. Our top priority is the safety and interests of our customers and our company. We understand this may be disappointing news, and we share your frustration. We're hopeful that future developments will allow us to revisit and possibly resume our operations in the U.S. For our existing users in the U.S., rest assured that you have full access to your Bitcoin funds. You can seamlessly withdraw and transfer them to another wallet. We deeply appreciate your support and understanding. We remain committed to bringing the benefits of Bitcoin to as many as possible. Stay tuned for updates, and thank you for being a part of the community. And just to clarify here, we got John Carvalho, and he goes, to everyone in the replies asking why, you should be able to figure it out. Wallet of Satoshi needs to comply with local regulations or laws in ways that it cannot or does not want to. And this just goes to show that, you know, we say it all the time, and maybe we take it lightly sometime, but this is the then they fight you stage. Of course, we know that the on and off ramps are bottlenecks. We know the choke point 2.0. It's been happening all year. We see that they do not want competition. They will stop competition at any way possible. And that comes with the AML, money transmitter license, KYCing your customers from the exchange. And now we've seen this develop where Elizabeth Warren out there wants to KYC every wallet. It's absolutely incredible, but it's really just goes to show that politicians are shooting themselves in the foot by their attempts to stop custodying your Bitcoin. You know, they're pushing entrepreneurs offshore, literally doing exactly the opposite of what they say they want to do. They want to protect retail customers. They want to ensure that entrepreneurs come in America and they protect American customers. And as a Bitcoin entrepreneur, you're just like, yo, you guys are treating me wrong. I'm going to literally move. And we're not surprised to see Apple and Google pressure Bitcoin wallets off their stores. You know, they are a private business. We've been saying this for a while on the show, that this is one of the choke points, that this was going to happen. So we're not surprised this has happened. Maybe we're surprised that it's happening so quickly, but as we saw the last couple of weeks, from Elizabeth Warren's Anti-Money Laundering Act to the FinCEN proposals, they are pushing Bitcoin companies, Bitcoin entrepreneurs away from the US. They're hurting American citizens. They are trying to strangle the Bitcoin ecosystem. Of course, they're doing it with the same low-hanging fruit examples of we're stopping anti-money laundering, we're stopping financial criminals. We are here to protect the citizen, the retail customer. This is in the threat of national security. The same excuses they always use, they are using them again. And it's very unfortunate that we're seeing Wallet of Satoshi get pressured. You know, I know a lot of the more hardened Bitcoiners, it's probably even in chat right now saying like, oh, they're custodial. We all knew this was coming. But say what you want, Wallet of Satoshi had a good user experience for a newbie. They were able to onboard people. You know, this is kind of unfortunate. Hopefully people don't get rug pulled out there because they are using this custodial feature, the Wallet of Satoshi. But it really highlights why creating a business that cannot be labeled as a money transmitter is so important, and creating unstoppable software. Unfortunately, you know, Wallet of Satoshi got caught up in this, but they're not the only ones. And here we are. If you guys aren't familiar with Nodelist, remember Jack Dorsey tweeted about Nodelist a while ago. He just did Nodelist.io in June. Well, apparently Nodelist.io is down. And there was a post that UTXO created where apparently he's being shut down. And this is in Canada. So this just goes to show they do not want you to take Bitcoin into custody. They don't want you running a node. Of course, we've seen that there has been coordinated efforts globally to stop Bitcoin adoption. We see it constantly happening, whether we're seeing what we want to see and seeing the connection between what's happening in America, what's happening in Canada. We don't know. All we know is that they're coming for wallets, they're coming for node operators, and now is most important time than ever to be running a Bitcoin wallet that might possibly be free and open source. I know there's a lot of contention out there about the custodial versus FOSS, but you want to protect yourself because it is happening in real time. We know that we are in the then they fight you stage. So let's read UTXO's post right here. Because again, it's the same story happening in Canada. And if you don't think that we are in the then they fight you stage, you don't think they're attacking self-custody, if you don't think they're trying to stop you from running software, well, it is happening in real time, guys. So here's UTXO's post, and he goes, I knew this day would probably come, but I didn't expect it so soon. And I think that's all what we've been kind of saying here. It's like we knew the attacks were coming, but it seems like it is snowballing. And it is cascading and happening very quickly. I am being investigated for running an illegal money transmission business in Canada, aka Nodeless. Under the advice of my lawyers, I need to shut down the main instance of it. As you guys know, I made Nodeless completely open source in the event that this happens so that others who don't live under communism can run an honest, privacy-focused payments business. To my clients who are using it, I'm very sorry for the short notice, but you'll need to find a new payment processing solution this weekend. DM me on Telegram and I will personally walk you through setting up a BTC Pay server instance that you can self-host or even your own instance of Nodeless. I can't give much more information than this. I'm not even supposed to say this, but I owe it to you guys to let you know what's going on. To install Nodeless on your own server, you can get started here. And it's just absolutely incredible that the powers that be don't want you to run software. They don't want you to take Bitcoin into custody. As you can see, as Bitcoiners, we are obviously over the mark. We know the game, hence why I wanted to talk about what Dave Smith was talking about on Joe Rogan this morning. It's because the game has been exposed. They get their power from the money printer. As Brett was saying, they've inflated our savings away. They will continue to inflate our savings away. They'll continue to debase the currency as long as they can get away with it. And here we are, guys. And, my duty usually here on the show is to name some of my favorite Bitcoin wallets here. I usually have a long list of them, but I think for today, I just want to name a few Lightning wallets that I've been using that I love currently. And I've really become a huge fan of Phoenix since their latest update. I think Phoenix might be the new contender for that seamless onboarding of the new Bitcoiner. I don't really remember how the onboarding was, whether it's as seamless as well as Satoshi was, but it's almost there, guys. And then, of course, my buddies over at Mutiny. I love Mutiny. I love the guys behind it. I love what they're building, and they have just recently allowed iOS test flight for Mutiny subscribers. So we're almost on the verge of getting a Mutiny app. But of course, you can use a Mutiny Lightning wallet on your web browser. So you don't even need to download it from a Google or an Apple Play Store. And this is what I mean about Bitcoin entrepreneurs finding ways to route around this tyranny, because they cannot stop software. It is speech. It will find its way. And this Bitcoin thing is unstoppable. As much as they try to grasp and control Bitcoin, they can't ban Bitcoin. They can only ban themselves from Bitcoin. But some other good Bitcoin wallets, Lightning wallets out there is Breeze, Moon. I absolutely love them. But I think right now, the one I'm recommending the most is Phoenix, guys. So maybe you guys can drop your favorite Lightning wallets in the chat. But Brett, what's your thoughts on all this going on? Did you watch this happen over the weekend, or maybe what's your general thoughts?
Yeah, a few thoughts. First, a shout out to Zeus Wallet, which is also excellent. Connects to your own node, and I think recently they built a built-in Lightning node as part of the mobile experience, which is technically really challenging, and they've solved that. So I definitely would check out Zeus. And yeah, Mutiny's doing great work, and you don't need an app. I think apps are a little bit overrated. Progressive web apps that just run in the browser on mobile, they run the same as apps. They have notifications. They're excellent. So Mutiny did a great job with their progressive web app too. So Ben Carmen and the gang over there have crushed it. Now back to the politics of what you started. I have followed Elizabeth Warren's career since the beginning, and I actually really used to admire her. I thought she was super ambitious, and she really was determined to fight against the banks and kind of injustice against American citizens. And I do think that was she was kind of virtuous at the beginning of her career. Something happened to her, and I don't know what it is. She's suddenly super wealthy. I mean, how? You know, we all know what the congressional salary is. So how is she so wealthy all of a sudden over the last few years? That doesn't make any sense. And she's gone after Bitcoin with every ounce of her being. I mean, she is really against it. And so someone has corrupted her, unfortunately. And she does understand Bitcoin. I don't really think she sees it the way that I do and a lot of Bitcoiners do, as freedom tech and a chance to uplift the world for the unbanked and people who have hyperinflation and people living under tyrannical regimes. She doesn't see it that way, I don't think. I believe she's holding up the Bitcoin ETF. She's in Gary Gensler's ear. Every interview I've seen with her recently, they're all super softball interviews. Like, why won't she, if she is so convicted in her beliefs against crypto, Bitcoin mining, electricity usage, boiling the oceans, money laundering, why won't she debate someone on the other side? All she does is softball interviews. She states her talking points and then moves on and doesn't ever get challenged publicly on any of her beliefs. And what happened to healthy debate? Why can't she take some tough questions? Why can't we have an opposing side that kind of challenge her on this? And if she really believes in what she's saying, she would welcome that. Anyone who has conviction about something, they would welcome a dissenting belief and say, okay, let's discuss it civilly and let the viewers or the readers decide. She won't do that. So it's really disappointing to see what's happened to her. She's not the person that I kind of first came on my radar, like, I guess over 10 years ago now. And she's doing more harm than good. And I think history will not look kindly on her. Just like it's just she's destroying her legacy. She's not helping humanity. It's really, I can't, like, it's upsetting just to think about the damage she's doing, where she could be helping this country. She could be helping the world. Instead, she's in the way. And she's wedged herself from progress, from technology, from innovation. And you're right. You said earlier about it will start to move offshore. And it's because of people like her. And it's really sad to see. Wallet of Satoshi specifically, yeah, they're custodial solutions. So they're going to be under the purview of the SEC and KYC and AML. And talk about money laundering. I mean, like, crimes are committed on mobile phones. Crimes are committed in cars. Crimes are committed by people, wearing clothes. Do we ban? Do we ban these things? Do we ban cars? Do we ban phones? What does she think is going to happen? And she, rather than look at the data, which I think I saw something recently where Bitcoin and other currencies, Monero, whatever, it's like way under 1% of their usage. So why are you making that your lead argument? She knows that's true too. So she's lying. She's not being honest with herself. She's not being honest with her messaging. And I actually at the Bitcoin conference in 2021, I was at a small event with Cynthia Lummis, and I was talking to her, and I said, hey, can you just take Elizabeth Warren out to lunch and start to orange pill her? And she looked at me and she laughed. She said, I would try, but she just won't meet with me. She won't listen. She doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to hear opposing views. So even someone like Lummis, who's really close to her, in proximity and has her ear, she won't listen to it. So there's something else sinister going on there, unfortunately. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I could go on and on, but the gist of it is Bitcoin, in a lot of ways doesn't care and will survive with or without people like Elizabeth Warren in the way. But it certainly does make it harder. We are in the then they fight you phase right now, needlessly.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, and it's very interesting. Just taking Elizabeth Warren herself, she rose on the platform of Occupy Wall Street, movement, and now she's literally in bed with the very movement she was supposedly fighting, and now she's fighting literally the interest of the average American. And just to kind of like paint this as a more global issue, of course this has rather no effect on Bitcoin at large, but it just goes to show where the precedent is being set and where the choke points are and what is going to happen. And there might be a time when all Bitcoin wallets completely get cleared out of all app stores. And hence, like, why I love what Carman and everyone over at Mutiny is doing, is having these progressive web apps where literally you can just download a wallet on your browser and they cannot stop this. And it just goes to show that Bitcoin entrepreneurs will route around anything that they try. And this is how I know that Bitcoin will win. But it's really unfortunate to see that we have so much friction and so many obstacles to go over, when all we really want is just to get them out of our money. Just stop stealing from me. Like, this is literally what it is. Like, these people that get rich off stealing off the average person, and then they get painted as these heroes. It's absolutely disgusting. And I'm just tired of getting robbed. Like, it's that simple. We're not criminals here. And yeah, Brett, to your point, I think the numbers is 0.2%, or maybe it's 0.02% of Bitcoin transactions are for quote unquote criminal use. So it's like, it's a tiny aspect of all transactions on Bitcoin. And here we are, we're all painted as criminals. We're all financial terrorists. This is all we're doing here, is we're all laundering money, when in reality, the real money launderers use cash. That's what banking is. They are the ones that are really laundering all the money. The politicians out there are playing cover for it. It's absolutely incredible that people still seem to think these people have legitimacy when they are the real liars. They're the real con men. And I think their bubble is popping, but it's going to take time until more people realize what's happening. Anyway, so what's your thoughts?
So the reason that I think a lot of these politicians hate Bitcoin and they hate self-custody is because money is speech. And while we like to pride ourselves that this is a, country that believes in the First Amendment on the surface, the reality is that a lot of these politicians have been controlling speech and have been controlling the narrative for many, many years. And so what happens when you decentralize the money, when you separate the money from the state? They're no longer in control of the narrative. They're no longer in control of being able to control what other people are thinking, essentially. I saw a episode of The Culture War on Timcast, and where this guy, Dr. Robert Epstein was his name. He was talking about how he has a bunch of evidence that he can present in court, legal evidence that shows the way that Google and Facebook, the way that they attack their messaging to different political parties. So imagine, the only way that something like that is possible is with a money printer. And once you take that money printer away, you take their power away. And once you take their power away, people realize that there is less of a need for government, and people start governing themselves. Self-sovereignty means more than just personal banking and taking, your money into your own responsibility. It actually means taking every other aspect of your life into your personal custody as well. And that is the last thing that politicians want. They want you to depend on them. And once you stop depending on them, once you take that power away, there is no use for them. I used to be a huge fan of Elizabeth Warren as well. I loved the principles that she stood on. And when she first came out on the political scene, I really admired her, especially as a woman in politics. But as Brett mentioned, now she's rich. Now she has a bunch of money. I wonder where all of that money came from. Part of that comes from a money printer. This isn't possible without a money printer. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot more than just moving to different apps. That's not going to be enough. It's going to take moving to whole other phones. Like, you're going to have decentralized everything. You're going to have to actually take like these apps and not have to get them from an Apple store or Google Play store. You're going to have to download them and study code and figure out how to understand these things without depending on these companies that are also subsidized by these politicians and by big government. There's a reason that Elon Musk bought out X. He wanted to separate social media from the government, and he exposed that through the Twitter files. So the then they fight you phase, we're in it, but we're just at the beginning. And it's going to take a lot more than switching to a different app on the App Store. You're going to actually have to completely switch out your life at some point. You know, you're going to, oh my God, this is so funny. You're going to actually have to completely decentralize your life at some point, because they are going to try to hit you with everything that they have. And it's going to be inconvenient. It's going to suck. It's going to be really hard. But if we all band together and opt out, it's going to be possible.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really one of these moments where you got to protect yourself, and few people understand what's actually going on. Anyways, guys, before we get into the culture, shouts out to the boys over at Kaboom Racks. If you want to buy, sell, or host your ASICs, get over to kaboomracks.com. Get in touch with my boy, Alex. He will probably try to convince you not to buy ASICs, but he'll break it all down for you. He's super bullish on the latest ASICs releases. Go hang out in their Telegram group. They're doing a good job, guys. They'll let you know everything you need to know in regards to Bitcoin mining. I know Alex is getting super bullish coming up. We know the hash rate's going on. I'm sure you guys are having questions whether you should get into Bitcoin mining or not. Get in touch with the boys at Kaboom Racks. They will sell you what you need, or they might tell you not to buy them. That's literally what Alex always tells me. He's like, my job is to sell ASICs, but I usually tell people not to buy them because you might wreck yourself. So get in touch with them, guys. If you have been thinking about buying some ASICs, maybe you got some old ASICs you want to sell, or maybe you have some that you have to host because you don't have good electricity rates. Get in touch with them, guys. Anyways, let's get into the culture. We got a lot to talk about.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today.
All right, Brett. Well, you told us in the beginning what you're working on. And here I have the demo, but maybe give some context on what is a TrueVote app and maybe why you built this in the first place.
Sure. Yeah, I built this because voting is broken. Like I said, TrueVote solves two fundamental problems with voting. One is convenience. So we often say people choose convenience over security. That's super true. And any of you out there that are still using clear text messaging, ask yourselves, why aren't you using Signal? If you have Signal or even WhatsApp, although WhatsApp isn't open source, use end-to-end encrypted systems. So even though it's less convenient. So I'm constantly kind of educating my friends and one way I do it is if someone texts me, I'll reply to them on Signal without even saying, hey, I'm switching to Signal. I'll just reply on Signal and move the conversation there. The point is people will choose convenience. You know, it's easier to text. Really, it really isn't. For like half a more second, you can have end-to-end encrypted. So TrueVote solves convenience because people don't like to vote. The idea came to me when I was standing online at a polling station over 10 years ago, and the line was huge and I was super busy that day. And I was like, what the hell? Why am I online? This is ridiculous. And I thought, I saw everyone on their phones, of course, as everyone does when they're online. Everyone does everything else in their phones. Why aren't we voting on our phones? So that was the original seed that caused me to think I need to solve this problem. So I was working at SpaceX at the time. You know, I was busy I saw this as an opportunity of someday maybe building something to make it easier. And then I eventually founded TrueVote. So convenience is a big problem. People don't like to wait online, and they don't. And mail-in ballots are actually pretty inconvenient. You have to receive it, make sure it's right, fill it out, sign it, seal it, put it in an envelope, and drop it off at a mailbox or a ballot box, and you really don't know what happened to that ballot once it leaves your hands. And so that's the second part is whether you vote in person or via mail, you don't know what happened to your ballot. You really don't know. You think they counted it and you see the results at the end. Oh yeah, I voted for that guy, that woman. You don't know if your vote was part of the aggregate. So I solved both those problems. And it needs to happen. We do everything else on our phone. So that's the gist of it. So it's open source and it uses open timestamps, and open timestamps is a great kind of add-on to Bitcoin without impacting the Bitcoin itself. So it's not like ordinals or Taproot or anything else that uses the blockchain or Bitcoin that way. It uses it on the side where you hash your data. So you take all the ballot data, you hash it into a single hash, and then you compare that to the Bitcoin blockchain at the time you hash it. And then you write that record to an open timestamps calendar, which is open source. And TrueVote has their own instances of open timestamp. They can all be audited and verified. And you can see, okay, this ballot was not altered. So nobody can go backdoor into the database. Not me, not anybody can go into the TrueVote database and change a ballot because the hash would break. So you can see your own ballot is on the block and the as part of the election, and you can see the ballot explorer. You can see your ballot, and only you can see that you are the one who voted for each of the candidates. No one else can see who anybody else voted for. That key and that data is stored with your device or your computer. So there's no way of tracing back a individual ballot to a person. Those are the two fundamental things that it solves. More is that it's open source. Today's voting systems, however electronic they may be, you may walk into a polling station and have a touch screen and think that, oh, well, it looks pretty modern, but all that code is closed source. You don't know how it works or anything. All TrueVote's code is open source. It can be audited. We also do something called reproducible builds. So Sophie mentioned, looking at code in the future and being able to understand it. Those that want to, and any security researchers will be able to easily write a reproducible build of the TrueVote code based on the code that's public on GitHub and see that it checks out. It's the exact same code that's running. That doesn't exist today. Nobody is doing that. So I would ask, again, going back to Elizabeth Warren having to defend her positions, not wanting open source voting is indefensible. So why wouldn't you want an open system? And I get a lot of pushback in my conversations. Oh, they will never allow this. Well, really? How do you know? Until you actually build it and deploy it, sure, there will be resistance. I know that. But it will be indefensible at some point. Just like Bitcoin, nobody gave permission to Satoshi to build Bitcoin. He just built it and it took off. So the same thing with TrueVote. It doesn't need permission. You build it and you prove that it works, and it will get adopted. So that's my position, and I'm devoting the rest of my career to this, the rest of my professional life, to ensuring that we have election integrity. So it was exciting last week to deploy the demo to just show, okay, here's something you can see. There's so much backend code behind it that you don't see. Everyone cares about the UI, obviously. That's what people think of when they see an app or a website. But there's a lot of code behind it that doesn't get seen, that takes the data, hashes it, pushes it on open timestamps, compares it to the Bitcoin blockchain. All that's happening underneath, and it's all open source on GitHub. So in the demo, I demo it launches the app. It's also multilingual out of the gate. You enter an election code, you sign in, you enter an election code, you submit your ballot, and then you wait for it to get validated, and then the hash gets updated on your ballot and it's there forever. Just like a Bitcoin transaction, it's immutable. It cannot be tampered with. So it needs to happen. So that's where we're building it.
Awesome. Well, here, let me play this demo for everyone to watch, and then we'll chat about it.
I love that bass and drums. That was beautiful.
I can't take credit for that, but thank you.
That mix is good too. Whoever made that, A
Okay.
plus.
Someone in the chat, XX, he goes, and it kind of showed it in there, but I guess just to clarify for the audio listeners here, how do you verify a registered voter?
So you still have to be authorized to vote. You know, you can't just log into the site and think that you can vote in any election. You still have to have access. And the way that works today is you have to register to vote with your local voting authority, whether that's the Secretary of State of California or your county or city or country. You still have to register to vote. And TrueVote ties into those databases and issues election access codes. You will also at some point probably have to KYC somewhat and show that you are the person voting and you are the person that owns the account that logs in. So it's not, you can't just vote in any election you please. You have to have access to it. And that access isn't controlled by TrueVote. That access is controlled by whoever is running the election. And usually that's your state or county authority. At least in the United States it is. And today they have some electronic voting. They just don't have it on your device. You have to go into a polling station and do it. And when you walk into a polling station today, you need to show your ID, and then they hand you a ballot. So it's similar workflow, except it's digital. You will need to vote. You will need to be registered to vote, and then you'll get an election access code, which is effectively access to submit a ballot.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a simple idea. Like, of course, we should be able to do everything off our phones. We do it off our phones anyways. Like, it seems like this would be a no-brainer. But actually, one technical question just that I'm thinking of is every vote an open timestamp, or did you say they all get aggregated into like a hash that they can verify?
Yeah, no, not every single ballot is in its own open timestamps record. Okay. It aggregates it over time. So about every 15 minutes or so, it grabs all the ballots that were submitted, hashes those, and then hashes that with open timestamps. So it's just more efficient that way. Yeah. And then eventually the entire election gets hashed into one big hash that goes on open timestamps. So it's a parent-child relationship of all the hashes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's one thing I was wondering. And then I'd like to actually for a moment talk about what you said in the beginning of that, the powers that be, they won't let you do this. And, you're pushing back on the idea of like, why wouldn't they want this? I think voter transparency is something that has become a very big topic recently. But is this one of those like maybe Uber moments where you're like, I'm just going to build it, show it's better, and then we'll see what happened? Because it does seem like there will need to be some level of adoption from like the politician class. And I mean, I just don't think they want that level of transparency.
I think some politicians do. I mean, if you don't want that level of transparency, then you have to answer the question of why not. And there is no answer. So I welcome anyone to tell us why we shouldn't have open, transparent elections with open source software. Explain why. I don't have an answer, so I can't simulate what they might defend it with. There's no defense for it. It's indefensible.
Well, we know why, but they just won't say it out loud.
Right. Well, that is their silence will speak volumes then. Yeah.
Listen, as a Venezuelan American, this needs to be implemented all over the world. It's about time that voting, it becomes an open source thing. We do everything else on our phones. Why wouldn't we be able to vote on our phones, especially if we have the opportunity to see the code and like make it as convenient as you have made it?
Yeah, and Opti, I think the example you said about Uber, the thing about Uber is, though, it was displacing an entrenched system that wasn't necessarily corrupt, right? The taxi system, it wasn't really a corrupt system. It was just an inconvenient system, and a better product came along to replace it. In TrueVote's case, not only is a better product coming to replace it, but it's also fixing a broken system and a non-trustworthy system. So there's even more incentive for it to be adopted. I guess there was an argument with the taxi system. There was like a kind of a cabal of closed taxi licenses, especially in like New York and other big urban areas where you had to pay a lot for a taxi medallion or whatever. I don't even remember how it worked, but and Uber really disrupted that. But yeah, I mean, it's in the same spirit of that, where innovation can replace antiquated systems. And Sophie, to your point, yeah, we do everything else on our phone. Why aren't we voting on our phones? And that was what I was asking myself over 10 years ago when I was, waiting online, like, why aren't we voting on our phones? So finally, soon we're getting closer. So it's going to happen.
Love it, Brett. Okay, one last point here. Kind of seemingly some pushback from the chat. It said we should have transparent election voting, but still need transparent counting. What would be your response to that?
Well, the counting's super accurate. The counting is it's a database query summing up the results. That is all. Again, that query is also open source. So it's like, look at the code. You can see, okay, it's adding up these items. It's aggregating them, and it's displaying a pie chart and a total of each of the candidates, or a ballot measure, yes or no. It's all open source. The counting is all open source, and all the ballots that are part of that aggregate count are in the ballot explorer, and they can all be, you can drill down and see all that data. You can drill down to each ballot and see the ballots, how many ballots were submitted. And you could derive all sorts of interesting new data too, like, okay, for everyone who voted for this candidate, did they vote yes or no on this other ballot measure? And there's some correlation to be kind of gleaned from that I think is very interesting, that we don't have today, because none of that ballot data is transparent. So there's new opportunities there for some data analysis too that are really compelling. And people, there's a whole industry around, looking at election results. And so having all this ballot data transparent for anyone to see and download is going to open up a lot of opportunities for other people to look at that data and do something with it.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. I didn't even think about that as the first order. Wow. Well, Brett, I think this just goes to show that Bitcoiners are building. Actually, one last thing. I think this also goes to show that you don't need a token for stuff like this.
Yes.
And you can build into Bitcoin natively.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you Google blockchain voting, there's so much noise out there. Everyone's trying to grift on these solutions. Everybody, not me. We're building it open source, and we're doing it with Bitcoin. So no token needed, no blockchain needed. It's just Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, it's nice to see, Bitcoin's primary use case is money. And I tell everybody that. But open timestamps made it a tool for validating data. And Peter Todd, I give him a lot of credit. He's one of the first Bitcoin core developers, and he built this very elegant solution. And you do not need to create a Bitcoin transaction to use it. So it doesn't cost anything to use open timestamps other than the timestamp servers, making sure they're up and running properly. There's no incremental cost for using it. So he built a really elegant solution to proving that data cannot be tampered with, and that it is indeed immutable along the Bitcoin blockchain, which is validated by hundreds of thousands of nodes across the world. So props to him for building it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Shouts out to Peter Todd. But man, Brett, wish you the best. Let's hope this catches on. We'll see how the fight for election integrity goes moving forward. But I think it's becoming very obvious to at least anyone paying attention in politics that this is at least a point of contention. And I really like how you framed it, where it's like, I would like to see anyone argue against voter transparency. So kudos to you. And I wish you the best, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, let's get into the meme review, because this is the only reason why you're here, obviously.
The Daily Meme Review.
All right, guys, you already know the deal. This is the meme review, where you tag us in memes at Twitter, Simply Bitcoin TV, and we bring them on. I am okay with nepotism on the meme review, guys. So give me your favorite meme, your own meme, your favorite memers memes, or drop them in our Telegram group, Simply Bitcoin TV, or t.me/Simply Bitcoin TV. Lively group in there. Absolutely love everyone in there. You guys are killing it. Keep dropping the memes, but please give me the tweet, even if it's the fx.twitter one or whatever, all those ways so that Twitter doesn't track you. I'm okay with that. I'll bring those on the show as well. But you guys know the deal. Tweets are the bullets. Memes are the artillery. We are in an information war, and it's never been more important than ever to spread the signal. Make sure you get the calls of actions out there. Make sure people know how to stack Bitcoin, why to stack Bitcoin, and of course, make some funnies so they keep their heads in the game, so they understand why we do what we do. And on this point, first meme, kind of connected to the culture. Shouts out to Hoarding Sats. He doesn't put anything here, but we have a play on the Steven Crowder meme where he sits there with his table and he put his emoji head on top of it and he goes, "All sats are equally rare. Change my mind. Shots fired at all the Taproot wizards." I kind of agree with this. All sats are equally rare. Sats are extremely rare. There's only 2.1 trillion of them, I believe the math is. Bitcoin is almost extremely rare. It's almost like the only digitally scarce thing. It's only like the only scarce thing in the world. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a Bitcoiner. Anyways, this next meme. Actually, I don't remember who gave me these ones. I think this one came from Bitcoin Meme in the Telegram. I think there's a Telegram channel that has all of these. But these next two are basically one meme, and I'm getting trolled in one of them, so I had to put it up here. So first meme, we got this Anakin meme, where Anakin's talking to Padme, and he does the weird smirk, and he goes, let me get some context. I don't know if you guys saw the news over the weekend, but apparently Christine Lagarde came out and said that she tried to tell her son to buy stocks and treasuries and real estate and instead of Bitcoin, and he didn't listen. Obviously, we covered this in the past, and I was getting trolled for this all weekend, obviously. Anyways, we got Anakin here as Christine Lagarde's son. He goes, "Hey, Mom, I want to start investing." And Christine Lagarde smiling, "In stocks and bonds, right?" And he does the Anakin smirk, and she goes, "Right? No. Seems like he wants to buy Bitcoin." Anyways, I'm getting trolled here. Here's a picture of me, and he goes, "Honey, I want to start investing." And she goes, "In stocks and bonds, right?" And then a smirk. And she's right? No, saving Bitcoin. This is the way, guys. Stack Bitcoin. Go all in Bitcoin. Do it. Do it now. All right, next one is by RD_BTC, and he goes, "I hate that guy, #Bitcoin." And it goes, "When you find the person that stopped you from buying Bitcoin at $1 and it's a girl choking her shadow."
This is what they call true shadow work.
Yeah, I swear we all feel this way. We all wish we were smart ones that have bought Bitcoin at $1. Well, the best time to buy Bitcoin may have been at $1. Second best time is to buy Bitcoin now. Save in Bitcoin today. You need to do this to protect yourself. If anything has been clear throughout this whole show, is that the powers that be do not want you to take control of your life and your finances. They want you to keep them as the middlemen, because that is how they retain their power. And this last one is by UK Bitcoin Master. If you didn't check out my podcast with UK Bitcoin Master I did last week, I had a great time with you, bro. A boomer that gets it. I know you guys always yell at me and make fun of me and say that I'm mean to the boomers. No, I just use it generally, guys. There are some people out there, not just us millennials and zoomers, that get what's going on. I am not an ageist here. It is orange versus green. And if you're on the side of orange, then we are in the trenches together. So shout out to UK Bitcoin Master. And he goes, "There's only one asset to put your hard-earned fiat in for the futures." And we have Michael Saylor here going,
There is no second best.
and you can see the asset 10-year return, Bitcoin plus 135,420. Oh, it's our boy, 21 JCLP. Let's go. All right, I didn't see that. Shouts out to you, 21. Bitcoin return to 135,421. Tesla, 6,867%. Microsoft, 1,034. Apple, 780%. Amazon, 581%. Google, 400%. S&P 500, 168%. And gold, 6.9%. Damn. Gold bugs in disbelief.
Losers.
Bitcoin. You need to be saving in Bitcoin, guys. It's the only way. I know we are biased. I know we're a Bitcoin show. And you are probably thinking we're selling our bags. We're talking our bags here. But most of us Bitcoiners don't want to sell our Bitcoin. We just want to opt out of the fiat system. And we just so happen to see our purchasing power increase while we do it. Anyways, guys, drop your meme review score in the chat while we cover ours live. Actually, I almost forgot to get my meme review score, but I have it right here. Pretty fitting. I have Jimmy Song's book, Fiat Ruins Everything and How Bitcoin Fixes This. I haven't read it yet. I have a bunch of books here that I need to start reading again. Shout out to Jimmy Song. Get yourself a copy. Anyways, Brett, what's your meme review score for today?
1 to 10, is that it?
You can do a throwback score or whatever, a trinket, anything.
It's like
I have a trinket here. I like the shadow one because I do think change comes from within. So change yourself, change the world. I'd like to give this Philadelphia Flyers little Lego guy. I'm a hockey player, so he's orange, and that goes to the winner from the shadow meme.
Let's go. Okay, awesome. I think that's our first hockey player Lego on the show. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right, so what is your meme review score for today?
So I'm gonna be a little romantic today, and since Nico isn't here, I'm gonna give it this little thing that I've been staring at the whole entire day, the time that I've been streaming. It's Nico with the little streak as an orange pill with his headphones on. These are adorable. I forgot who sells these, but shout out to them because these are beautiful. These are beautiful. I love them. I love them.
Yeah, I don't even know. What is it? Knitting?
It's like crochet.
Yeah, crochet. That's what it is. All right, guys, drop your meme review score in the chat as we cover our lives. But of course, if you love what we're doing here, we'd appreciate all the support. Get us some merch over there. We have t-shirts. We have hoodies. I will get you the hats. We are in the talks with a Bitcoin artist to get you guys a special shirt. We will get Sophie up here to make sure we get some female cuts for you girls. We're doing everything we can. I'm even in talks to get you guys some coffee mugs. You guys see me drinking coffee every single morning. I know you guys be drinking coffee, but scan the QR code and get yourself some merch. We really appreciate all the support, guys. All right, first meme is, let me scroll up a little bit. Okay, first meme reviews. Wait, can I read this? Yes, I can. Okay, Opti subscription to Wine's Love Tips score. Mr. True Vote, please also add a globally open voting option for should my waifu let me go full degen and take out a second mortgage with leverage to spot buy more Bitcoin. Oh man, you're funny. Okay. Next one is Tyler Derlin swallowed the red pill. My dog scores his chew toy. Okay, next one, BTC is true. Score. Bitcoin is like water flowing around obstacles it encounters. Yes, this is the way. Next one is by Roman, aka StackSats Show. Score. 1, fix the money, fix the world, tennis sweatband. Okay. All right, let's see. I guess they're still lagging. We have 1 meme score over here on Rumble. I know you guys get mad that I don't add your guys' meme score. Actually, we got two. UTXO, my score is a patriotic saying about honor. Once you get honor, stay honor. Okay, let's go. Narwhal Tacos, meme score, a pair of flannel lined jeans because it's 12 degrees Fahrenheit outside right now. Oof. Okay. All right, well, it's not that we ran out of meme scores. It's that the buzzer hit. Actually, we got one more. But before I go, okay, Captain Banana would love a coffee mug. Okay, all right. I'll get in touch. We'll make it happen. Last meme score by my boy Planet Earth. Meme score, my Bitcoin is in cold storage and it's never going anywhere else. Checkmate fiat printers. Let's go. Hold on, I got to give you some oorahs for that one. Let's go. All right. Well, Sophie, thanks for showing up. We'll see you tomorrow. So I'm going to kick you off stage for today, but good job. Good job. And Brett, really appreciate you coming on. Great conversation, great takes. For the audio listener, where can people find you? And actually, do you need help here with TrueVote, or is it already done and set in motion?
You can find me at truevote.org. TrueVote.org, and Morris and Brett on Twitter. I pretty active on Twitter, mostly tweeting about Bitcoin, hockey, and TrueVote, those three passions. Everything's on GitHub, so just like any open source project, you can submit a pull request. It is runnable locally. I will be hiring some more people next year. For now, we're good, but please follow us on Twitter, and also TrueVote Twitter, TrueVote.org. And we'll be publishing updates a lot more frequently coming up. So stay tuned.
Love it, Brett. Well, appreciate you coming on. And next time you have a big announcement, maybe come back on and we can talk about this one more time.
Yeah, we'd love to. We'd love to.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, that is the show. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Thank you for the support. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. But it's not just about Simply Bitcoin. It's about spreading the Bitcoin signal outside of our echo chambers. Yes, we know we're right. And I think even the politicians and the bankers know we're right. But the average person still doesn't know that there is a solution to the problem of money printer, the solution to the fact that inflation is getting out of control, a solution to the debasement. And of course, it is Simply Bitcoin. So spread all the Bitcoin signal. Spreading shitcoin signal is a disservice to your friends and your family. But we appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow for another show. Until next time, guys, we are Simply Bitcoin. Peace out.